Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and when this gentleman is in the studio, it's a good day. I've known him for many, many years, friend, colleague, and everything in between. And that's Dr. Mark Goldstein, the founder and principal of MGold Consulting, better known as Dr. Mark. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here with you, Drew. It's been coming over here. I thought, I'm getting to work with him again. It's been a long time.
We're going to make sure this doesn't happen so many years in advance. And joined by my celebrity co-host, Jamie Moraga. She is the founder and CEO of Franklin Revere, longtime community leader, and I know she is geeked up to talk to you about many things. I'll let you start the conversation.
Yes. So I am currently writing a book, and I was thrilled to see that you are a published author. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background as an author and speaker? I'm definitely geeking out about your experience.
First of all, I have to give the caveat that I have high school English teachers that are rolling over in their grave that I wrote a book. So I actually sat down to write it about 2:15, right about then. And I wrote it for my grandkids. I had no intention of this being published. I just sat down. I wanted them to know who Dr. Mark was before, life takes its place, and they're now 10, 12 years old.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know who I was. And so I sat down, wrote about 5 or 6 chapters. And a good friend of mine is Marty Becker, wrote Chicken Soup for Animal Lovers. HCI was the publisher. And I sent it to him just for kicks and giggles.
Yeah.
He came into San Diego for a conference. He asked to meet with Chris and I, my wife, because we all know each other well. He sat down, he passed it back to me. He said, Mark, we're going to get this published. I said, you're out of your mind. It was Life Lessons Learned as a Veterinarian was the title.
Yeah.
And he put me in contact with various people. I went through some courses. I forgot what it's called here. There's a writers...
San Diego Writers, Inc.?
Yes.
Oh.
And I went to the meetings went to their conference for about 3 years in a row, so I learned the business. Because my background's a veterinarian, a zoo director, and president of the Humane Society previously.
Right.
San Diego Humane Society. And he finally got to HCI, who did the Chicken Soup books, and they gave me a contract. I mean, I know how fortunate, incredibly fortunate. 2.5 years to write it. They helped give me the title, which works much better, Lions and Tigers and Hamsters.
Yes.
The rest is history. 5 years, I was lucky because it came out 2 years before the pandemic, because there's probably no book signings just after that. So I had about 2 years going. I went to the Miami Book Show, and I just had a great time with it. I love sharing what I've done in my career and all the people I've met and all the exciting, episodes I've had. There's stories in here. First chapter, I'm thrown by an elephant. I have a plate in my neck to prove it. 30 feet.
Gosh.
Almost got eaten by a tiger in one chapter. I've had a gun aimed at me in the Middle East because I was on a kibbutz tending some animals. And there's a story in there of even taking a tumor off a goldfish, which if we have time, I can tell real quick. Did
you bring the goldfish with you?
No, but he went 10, 15 years actually after that.
Oh, really?
Wow.
I'm watching your eyes, because even when I speak to my colleagues, their eyes go, oh, come on, Mark, this is enough. Woman came in real quick. She comes in with a goldfish, fancy goldfish. They live about 10 to 15 years, not the big carp, not the little guys, and had a very obvious tumor off its gills. It was just this mushroom-looking thing. I looked up, and here's an adult woman, and she'd been crying. You could tell. I thought it was because people thought you're crazy to bring this to him.
Yeah.
She said, Doc, let me explain. My son's autistic. He learned to count watching the goldfish go around the tank. He learned to feed himself by feeding the goldfish. He learned to clean himself by cleaning the tank. And when I left to bring him here today, he said, Mommy, what did I do wrong?
Oh, gosh.
We're going to do this. I got 2 surgeons, not one, but 2 veterinary surgeons.
Yeah.
Talked to the New England Aquarium. They told us we used Bromocell. So this was back in the 80s. Now you'd use a drug called MS-222. One surgeon held him. I flushed his gills. The other one took it off. It came back benign. He went home. He lived a normal life with this young man. The moral of the story, I try to tell my colleagues, because we're under a lot of pressure. You may know that veterinary medicine is taking a hit with depression and suicide, and there's all kinds of reasons. That's what I've lectured at the past couple of years. And I just share that with them to, hey, guys, we don't just treat animals, we treat people.
Yeah.
We were treating a young man then, a young boy. So there's those kinds of stories in there.
Wow, that's amazing. And I just love that the fact that you have your legacy is in this book. And I think that that's amazing that you have that for your kids. And, that's just, and then the stories that you have that the goldfish one you just told us. I mean, that's phenomenal. So as someone who's going through the process now, seeing you've got one of the books here with you, I'm just in awe and, just absolutely amazed. And that's just phenomenal that you did that.
Well, you'll accept it. One of those is yours. I'm going to sign it and give it to you.
Oh my gosh. What an honor. Thank you very much.
Yeah. What was interesting about this, and I asked Mark this and Jamie as well. I love having authors on. We have quite a few of them. There's a group back east, Merrill Moss Media, for some reason, loves sending their authors to me. Charles and I can't get enough of it, to be honest with you. We're starting to do panel discussions now with authors. We did one on neuroscience at UCSD. Actually went very, very well, in this area. So, before we get to some of the veterinarian questions, what was the toughest thing for you to learn about being an author?
Oh, well, I have the benefit, and you might know his daughter when you said that about Neuralinks. Rich Leder is a good friend of mine.
Yeah, Rich, and he's a character boy.
I've known him since St. Paul's Day back in New Hampshire. We've known each other for 30 or 40 years now.
Oh my gosh.
And I've always turned to him. And he came to me and he said, the San Diego Zoo is having a 100-year anniversary. If you do a circuit tour with me, we'll just, community groups will go speak. I'll edit the book for you. I mean, this guy's written 50, 60 books now.
Exactly.
He's come to our Passover Seders every year. Yeah. We love each other.
Yeah.
And so he helped guide me through the grammatic stuff. I was serious when I said, I am not a good writer. I'm a good storyteller, I'm told.
Yeah.
I love telling stories. And so, basically I put down my stories, and then through the process of having it edited, that whole minefield of self-publishing, publishing, waiting to see if you can get a contract, knowing that very few authors do. I was lucky to have Marty in my bullpen to get me there. So it's just understanding how hard it is. It's not like you just sit down and write a book unless you're Rich Lederer. I mean, he writes them in a week or two. Mine, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
That's what really surprised me. Yeah. How long?
Well, as Jamie's finding out, and here's Jamie, very successful entrepreneur, started her business, sold the business. Now she's got another business going on. But this is a different business, is it not?
Oh my gosh. Like I said in, I think my podcast episode with you a few weeks ago, it is almost like starting a business from scratch. Mm-hmm. You're almost like a founder. I'm a fish out of water. I write in the Union Tribune Econometer weekly. So I've done writing, and that's not foreign to me. But the process of writing a book and the dedication and the mindset of perseverance, of days where you're like, okay, I don't know if I can sit down for 2 to 4 hours and do this, but I know I need to because I want to keep on and get these stories out there, and then eventually, publish. And I'm way more aggressive in terms of getting the book published quickly, or this year. So I have a lot more pressure on me to like churn and burn. So, right. Yeah,
I'll tell you one of the funny things that happens. You get a national contract, and it was for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And, they own the book. And, we've all heard the stories around the country of owning books and killing them and all that stuff. And what was interesting is after 5 years, I get a call just last December. Mark, Simon & Schuster's warehousing them, but they printed off 15,000 and about 12,000 were sold, which again I get a pretty good number. It's not going to put food on the table.
Right.
But after the 5 years, I get a call and says, Mark, the contract's over, really. If you read it, it comes back to you. It's yours. I innocently asked, what about the other 3,000 copies? Well, you're welcome to buy them at a discounted rate. And the ones you don't, I said, what happens to them? Now, I have to preface it. Marty told me first time you go in a Borders bookstore and you see your book on the shelf, have someone take a picture.
Yes.
Because you're going to feel like you birthed the baby.
Yes.
5 years later, what happens to the rest? Well, the ones you don't buy, we pulp.
Oh, gosh.
That means turn to sawdust.
Oh.
I have 3,000 books now. There's no way they were pulping my baby.
Yeah, it's blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We're chatting with Dr. Mark Goldstein. He's the founder and principal of MGold Consulting. I'm Drew Schlosberg, Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County. Whether it's food insecurity, whether it's the arts, whether it's financial literacy, they are there shoulder to shoulder with many of us, joined by my very, very cool celebrity co-host, Jamie Moraga, founder and CEO of Franklin Revere and a longtime community leader. So, Mark, you and I had met when you were the president of the Humane Society in the veterinarian space. I think I was on one of your community committees, if I'm not mistaken, and really enjoyed working with you. Sadly, our very, very, very good friend, dear friend, passed away this year, Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary, who both you and I were very close to. He was quite a guy, was he not?
Peter, Drew, Peter actually has an acknowledgement in my book.
I know.
And
yeah.
he was the kind of guy that I called, hadn't talked for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I said, I'd like you to read it. And he couldn't do enough to get that out there. And it was just so nice to have those kind of people come through and support your work. I mean, I've had the benefit, and we might talk about another thing going on in my life that I'd like to share, but
please.
I've had the benefit of realizing what friends are really out there. You just call people and if they were truly your friend, they bend over backwards. And it means a lot to me, especially at this point in my life.
Right. So let's talk about that. Pancreatic cancer.
Yep. I was diagnosed. And so people listening to this now, I'll tell you right off the bat, I'm lucky to be here because I'm 4 years out. 90% plus people pass away in the first 2 years. We've all heard the legacies of some people. I got lucky. I had an incredible surgeon, Dr. Lowy. I can't say enough about him at UCSD. And yes, I was diagnosed first with 2 tumors. In 2019, I was diagnosed with a different type of tumor in the tail of the pancreas. And then 2 years later, because of a gastroenterologist that may have saved my life, she said, Mark, I don't like the way your last CAT scan looks. Why don't we schedule an MRI? And that's just when the pandemic broke. I started losing weight. I went from 175 down to 119.
Oh, wow.
And I thought it was the stress of the pandemic. My mother-in-law was in the hospital with a recurrence of cancer. My brother was in the hospital with COVID for 3 months. My uncle died from it, my best reader. So I ignored it. Doctors are the worst patients. We never get sick. And then she called and said, let's do this MRI. And lo and behold, my wife's a retired physical therapist. You've met her. Mm-hmm. And I proposed to her again after 40 years of marriage. Gave her an out. She made the same mistake twice, my friend said. And a week later, I turned yellow, and that was when the MRI was scheduled already, right the next day.
Wow.
And I got lucky because for people listening, if you have a friend that either loses a lot of weight or yourself suddenly, see the doctor immediately, unless you're trying to. If you see your urine turns orange, okay, see a doctor right away. That's bilirubin. Something's blocking it. If you suddenly, and this is the one that people mistakenly have happen, if you have a sudden pain on the left side of your back, right below the last rib. My wife has her roommate from college, diagnosed 6 months before me. But the first thing, she's an athlete. She was a tennis player. Comes in with a pain under there. Here's some Tylenol. Come back in 3 weeks. Here's some opioids. Come back in 2 weeks. About 2 months later, they finally said, let's do the CAT scan. It was metastatic already. Because that's the problem. I've really gotten a lot of joy and really coming to me. I hope it helps the other people. But I've had Dr. Lowy and others refer people to me that have been diagnosed.
Yep.
Because for me, I remember getting the diagnosis. I know enough about medicine. I was a veterinary oncologist during my clinical years. And I knew I'm talking to 6 to 8 months. And I talked to a colleague's daughter who was out 7 years. And I got off the phone. I looked in the mirror. And I said, if she can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And it's just, I have so much to live for.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky.
Well, as you know, my dad was a
physician
and a gastroenterologist at UCLA. And so, unfortunately, he got a disease that there was no cure for. And he died in 1978 of called amyloidosis. You can't cure it because he obviously knew what he had. But that's why, as Jamie knows, that I'm so passionate about, we have the UCSD Moore's Cancer Center on. Can't talk enough about research, can't talk enough about supporting these things. And, that you show in that story is just absolutely wonderful for 75 different reasons. Mark, when we come back from break, I want to talk a little bit more about the world of veterinary science these days and medicine. As you mentioned earlier, it's a tough field.
Could I just add one more thing, Drew? I
sure.
wrote my notes to you.
Yeah.
If anybody listening here wants to reach out because they've been diagnosed or know someone that has, I'd love to talk to them because I want to give back what that young lady gave me when she said she was 7 years out.
Sure.
I want to tell them there is hope, but I'm very candid with them. I've gotten to meet some incredible people. Did a show out of Chicago. A man from Indiana called me on Facebook and said, "Can we talk?" We had 2 or 3 really heartfelt conversations. He's the first person I've lost of the people that I've been talking to.
Yeah, well, that's going to happen.
So,
that's going to happen. When we come back with Dr. Mark Goldstein, he's going to talk a little bit more about his book, going to talk about the world of veterinary medicine, and then everything in between. I know Jamie's got a whole bunch of questions for you as well. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. Listen to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're in our 19th year, brought to you by the fine folk of Mission Fed Credit Union. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Thrilled to have my longtime friend and colleague in the studio, Dr. Mark Goldstein, founder and principal of MGold Consulting, author of Lions and Tigers and Hamsters. You could probably add "and everything in between" on that. That's not in the title. Joined by my celebrity co-host, Jamie Moraga, founder and CEO of Franklin Revere. And I got to tell you, Jamie, you're killing it as my co-host. And I'm honored to have you. And we want you as many times as you will tolerate sitting next to me.
Oh my gosh, it's a pleasure. And I am just learning so much just sitting next to you. Well, it's an honor.
You'd be the only person to say that in the world, but that's okay. Other questions you got for Mark?
I like you mentioned earlier before the break, I have so many. I could talk to you for hours. You touched on it earlier. You said you had, and I had no idea that veterinary medicine has one of the highest rates of depression and suicide per capita among healthcare professions. So that's stunning to me. I didn't think that was going to be the case. And so how are you inspiring your colleagues to navigate some of these challenges?
Well, first you have to confront some of the reasons for it. And people say, why? You work with dogs and kitties and cats. Well, you start with the fact that as a profession and in healthcare, we're one of the few professions we see our patients from cradle to grave. In other words, we get to know the families. We get to know the kids. We watch their kids grow up with the dog. So you have an emotional attachment there, and you have to be able to, so you don't have compassion fatigue, you got to be able to compartmentalize it. Sometimes it's tough. But then you start with the practicalities. People come into the office, "Doc, please help my animal. It's my favorite. This is my family member. This is, okay, let's do this. It'll cost how much?"
Right.
Now, meanwhile, they're talking to someone who, when you graduate professional schools, we hear about these $300,000, $400,000 debts. A physician has that. And they then go and hire 2 or 3 people and use the local hospital. A dentist or a veterinarian, number 1 and 2 on the list of depression, they have to graduate with that debt and then buy a hospital. Now they're $2 million in debt. And somebody just lambasted them.
Yeah.
Why are you charging so much? Because veterinary medicine has changed. In the 80s, I used the example of removing bladder stones from a bladder. And I remember we charged like $100. That's because veterinary medicine was able to recoup some of their costs. Flea powder, vaccinations, heartworm tests, all of that's part of the internet now. They lost that stream. We've also, veterinary medicine has excelled. We can do everything pretty much that you can do in human medicine. The only thing people say, what about psychiatry? Ours are called trainers. But other than that, we've got hospitals right here in the county that have MRI machines. They have CAT scans. Now, people are listening. I'm not saying you should or have to do that with your animals. What we owe our animals for the unconditional love that they give us is to not let them suffer unnecessarily. For sometimes that situation means taking their life humanely, which I'm, thank God, I've been able to do because I've taken many animals out of suffering.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the people want to go the whole 9 yards, which is why in my book, every 3rd or 4th chapter, I ask some questions like, what's the future of animal welfare? Why does veterinary medicine cost this much? And I try to answer them. And, again, an example I use for people that go, why does it cost so much? Well, when I put a catheter in your dog's leg, the company that made that catheter, they don't care if it's going in 4 legs, 3 legs, or no legs. It's got to be the same sterile technique. Interesting enough, our profession sometimes is harder because we're dealing with pediatric-sized animals. So all of those things, but the art of medicine is no different. And so recouping the costs. Then you get to the practicality. You're depressed. The act of taking your life and suicide often is in the last 45 minutes. Here's a person sitting there with a bottle of blue juice on the shelf. We're experts at it. It's too easy. So you've got the cost. You've got, social media. An animal gets hit by a car, breaks their back. They come in and see the veterinarian. We go through the discussion of why it's best to say stop. Yeah. And then they go to it costs $100 to cremate them. And they go home, they put on social media. I came in crying, my dog was in pain, and all they wanted is $100 to burn them. And that's there forever.
Yeah.
And people see that. So these things, there's about 10 or 12 reasons like that play into it, that make it just a challenging profession. Now, my message you asked to my colleagues, hey, folks, they're not going to change. It's our job to teach them that. We can't sit back and say, why don't those people learn? Well, we got to take their, and I've had colleagues say, I don't have time for that. My answer back to that is, you don't have time not to.
Yeah.
So we have to take the chance. And then I also end with showing them a picture of graduation. At Cornell, when you graduate in veterinary school, the hotel people throw their hats up in the air and everybody's, what do the veterinary students throw up? Rubber chickens. But I remember the day I got that letter into vet school. I was ecstatic. Why do we let people extinguish that spark?
Yeah.
Relive it. You're treating a child. You're treating a little boy who brought a hamster into me and took control of my room. Told him he didn't want to get his bicycle for Christmas. He was going to take the money to take care of his hamster. He taught me a lesson. Mm-hmm. That's one of the stories in there. So it's reminding ourselves. And then so many professions suffer from this. You see 20 patients in a day. One of them is nasty to us. The others think we're wonderful.
Right.
What happens at night? We go home and completely go over the one that was nasty. Don't let them do that.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of message. It applies to other professions too, but we happen to be on the top of the list right now.
Wow, that's fascinating. And I think that what you're talking about is really reconnecting back to your why and your purpose. And even in those bad days, getting back to that point, and then reminding of yourself why you're there, and not letting those, like you said, those moments of people being on the negative side overcome all the good that profession is doing. So we talked earlier of the diagnosis I got. The first thing I said to my wife, Chris, when I got the diagnosis was, if this is the last chapter, I'm 72 now. I have no great regrets. I have nothing left on the table that I really wanted to do other than visit the mountain gorillas. That one's probably not in the cards. But other than that, I have 2 healthy daughters. I've got great partners. I've got grandkids. I've got granddogs. And you just have to remind yourself of that when it looks like you're fighting uphill. Yeah.
Well, I think we've talked about this quite a bit. And one of our frequent guests is Dr. Gary Weitzman, CEO of the Humane Society, and I think I asked you this, when you were in that role, and I ask Gary all the time. And how is San Diego as a place for the human-animal bond? And it's pretty good.
It is one of the best cities, counties in the United States.
Correct.
The people here love their animals. They invest in them. Look at the Humane Society. Look what I was able to do in some way, and look what Gary's been able to do.
Right.
It is one of the most dog, cat, horse, cow friendly. We have the best animal rescue reserve in the country. We went to Katrina. We went to Ike, the hurricane. I mean, the fires here. It's a wonderful community to have animals in.
Right, exactly. And we know from, just in mental health standpoint, having an animal, that I've got a almost 2-year-old golden that has controlled my life. And listen, Mark has seen my other dogs, Sam the dog, who Mark actually helped save his life, because I was calling him when our standard poodle was in distress, and I described it over the phone to Mark, and he said, okay, you got about 15 minutes to get down to the Poway Animal Hospital and get his, his stomach untwisted.
Oh, wow.
And we did. And he lived.
I had a pet that actually happened to, and we didn't know, and the dog passed away. It was a golden as well.
In front of you?
I was not there. I was in college, but it happened with my parents and my sister. It was devastating.
It is, yeah, it's terrible. So anyway, we were just doing an earlier exercise, Mark, you laugh at this, with a group from the National Latina Business Women Association. Then we talked about branding, and then I asked them to decide how they would brand themselves. And I branded myself as a golden retriever, full of energy, uncontrollable, but happy, which basically sums up Jackson. Charles Parisi, my business partner and the founder and CEO of Cloudcast, has met Jackson, and Goldens are the best.
Add to that the fact that you're young. You stay young until you get old. Golden retrievers at 12 years old still act like puppies.
100%, which means then my 12 more years from now, I'll be doing the same. What can our listeners do to help support whatever you're doing moving forward, or supporting veterinarians, or you're supporting the book and all that? What can we do?
Drew, I actually have started to transition. There's also a reality in life, and I'm becoming a dinosaur in the veterinary profession. There are people coming up behind me that are much more capable of speaking to the issues. So the highlight of my speaking over the past couple of years was at the American Veterinary Medical Association meeting a couple of years ago. And now I've transitioned over to really working with the, pancreatic cancer. I actually, in this work that I've been doing, I guess I'm bragging. Rich Lederer said, you're not bragging if you're telling the truth. Mm-hmm. And I was awarded the Hero of Hope Award by the National Pancreatic Foundation for talking to people. So I've really started doing that. So right now, my heart's with helping people deal with what I was given and paying it back. As far as veterinary medicine, I'll pick and choose. For instance, last night we met with some our friends of ours that are in one of the assisted living facilities here. So I'll go in there and I'll talk. So, if there's a group that is interested in that, I'll listen to it. But I want to be careful because, like I said, there's younger folks out there that can speak to some of the issues. Friends still call me, and I love this. They call me with their animal that's, not doing well or something. And I'll make it very clear, I can diagnose like the best of you, but I don't know how to treat anymore because, like everything else in our world, it's changing so rapidly. Right. So I'm careful about that. I also like to advise young people. I mentioned earlier, I mean this sincerely, if someone knows someone that really is thinking about going to vet school and they're 15, 16, 18, 21, 22 in college, my track record's pretty good. 2 people I worked with real intensely while they're in college, they're both graduating vet school this year.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great profession. We need it for 75,000 different reasons in that. One of my longtime colleagues, I've known Dr. Ed DeRoche, and I'm not sure if you know him or either of you know him. Ed was the Dean of Education for USD, and when I was running newspaper and education for the Union Tribune, he was the chair of my board. He's had pancreatic cancer now. He's a year 11.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Exactly. So you and Ed are one of the ones that it's a miracle, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because I've had people the other way around. Tim Larrick, who was a friend of mine, and Tim, his was less than a year, and so forth. So thank you for doing that. I think that's terrific. Are you doing another book?
I wanted to write a children's book, and I wanted to do it with my grandkids. I had a humbling experience in that I read a chapter of the book on Facebook while it was out, and I had 1,500 listeners.
Oh, that's fantastic.
My granddaughter read it. She had 3,000. Upstaged by my granddaughter. I'd love to do that. I have all these funny stories. You'd be amazed. I mean, things that are not in the book. Someone who brings in the proverbial fecal sample, and you hate to get it in tinfoil because then you got to go trying to find it. I'm going through the image, okay? This day, I go in the back, open up the tinfoil, it's a chicken wing. I come back in the room humorously, and I said, I hope nobody packed somebody's lunch today. Oh, no! His father sent his son to school with the fecal sample. That's the time you hope the bully steals his lunch.
Right.
But we have stories like that. All veterinarians, all of us have them. Yeah. I'd love to try and put them down, but I have to say, again, going back, you have to focus what I can do in life right now.
Right.
And there is a lot of truth that when the curtain's coming down, people are not going to say, I wish I would have worked harder.
Yeah.
I had a wonderful career. I feel fortunate to have done both.
Yeah.
But I'm investing my time in my family first now.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. Jamie, any final questions for Dr. Mark?
I want to mention that you were recognized by the National Pancreatic Foundation as this year's Hero of Hope. Can you tell a little bit more about that honor?
Well, it was
congratulations, by the way.
I had the opportunity not only of talking to these individuals been diagnosed. Dr. Lowy's office asked me if I would speak at a symposium 2 years ago. It was 150 pancreatic specialists from all over the country and Canada. Never mind. But it was really wonderful. It was the hardest talk I've ever given because I had to remind them I wasn't there as a doctor, I was there as a patient. They wanted to know how the system dealt with you because these were the specialists in pancreatic surgery and medicine. And I have to tell you, at the end, one of the mentors in the room got up and said, you were the best speaker today. And you know how I know? Nobody looked at their cell phone. That's how they measure you.
Yes.
But I got some really good questions. Questions like, has any physician talked to you about the act of dying? My wife is sitting there. I looked at her. I looked at him and said, no. You have an advance directive? Yes. They move on. I tried to explain to them that, and my last words, I put 4 words up there, communication, empathy, and I know we don't have time to go through each of them. I'd love to some other time if you'd like. The last one was deceit. And you could hear a pin drop. I said, folks, I talk a lot. When you're speaking to a group, whether you hit a home run or not, you feel it by the questions and everything. I said, why deceit? Because you're sitting there, I bet, saying, this guy's got it all together. He knows what he's got. He knows what he's facing. He's doing it with nothing could be further from the truth. Yeah. I looked right at him. I said, first of all, my wife's here. And we talk about this. It's the hardest time in our marriage we've ever had because she has a 20-year horizon. Every Saturday night to me means something. I said, and he gave him all kinds of other reasons. And the last one was, I said, you can't tell, and this was true. My brother died 3 days ago, and you can't tell. When your patients come in your room, the higher up the career ladder they've gone, we all have learned to leave our stuff at the door. I can't tell you how many times I walk into a physician's, to see me, and they go, how you doing? I go, fine. And Chris will go, no, you're not. I'm just trained I don't like to bring clouds into people's lives.
Yeah.
I know I've become from an extrovert to an introvert. Because I just, I have people that care, and so I have to get past that. Those are excuses. I'm not saying it's right. So, that was one thing I learned, and I try to share that. And so from that talk and then advising the other people, that's how just thinking about the award.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mark. It's we will have you back on chatting about, who knows, we'll make up topics down the road. You and I are pretty good at that. Wishing you continued just success working with the pancreatic society as well and everything in between. And thank you for your great work in the veterinary world. And it's good to see you. Let you know, I hadn't seen Mark in a while, and we were, what a stunner, at a music concert. And all of a sudden, this guy, we're staring at each other, and oh my goodness. And I was with a friend, and said, "You know this guy?" I said, "This is my longtime friend. I haven't seen him in a while." And it was like, it was like 2 days we hadn't seen each other.
Drew, it's mutual appreciation. I want to let listeners know you have done so much for this community. And you're so creative. I saw you during the pandemic. You came up with ways for kids to learn at home.
That's right.
I really have. I've been stalking you. Don't worry. But I mean, I remember you sending kids to the Humane Society, not from La Jolla or Del Mar, Carmel Valley, where I'm fortunate, from the barrio. I mean, kids that really... You have done so much for this community.
That.
Thank you.
I've been blessed. Well, Dr. Mark, we'll look forward to having you back on. Jamie, absolutely a wonderful job as my celebrity co-host. And to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.